When we talk about working on ourselves with the tarot, I want to begin by reminding everybody that from a Jungian perspective, we understand the tarot as operating on the principle of synchronicity. I'll go into very briefly what the principle of synchronicity is, but fundamentally, Jung developed the idea of synchronicity based on a variety of experiences he had, and what was most influential in his articulation of the theory is his work with Wolfgang Pauli, a physicist who became a friend. He had analyzed with Jung, he analyzed with von Franz, and by working with Wolfgang Pauli, Jung came to understand that psyche and matter, or the so-called internal and external worlds, are connected at a point that Jung called the psychoid, so that matter and psyche really reflect one another. And that's very clear when we look at the principle of synchronicity. There's two modes when we use the tarot, two modalities that are commonly used in tarot work. One is the receptive mode, and that's the classic consulting the cards in order to receive clarification on a situation, a question, or an opportunity. It's receptive because all you bring to the cards is your question, and you allow the cards to communicate with you. The inactive modality is a little bit different. That's using the tarot to cultivate particular qualities or dispositions. So it could be meditative. You could pick up perhaps one of the major arcana that draws you, let's say strength, or the high priestess, or the sun, and meditate on it and see what images come up. This inactive mode can also be used to facilitate active imagination. That's the term that we use in analytical psychology. In esoteric practice, that is referred to as path working. And just to remind you that synchronicity is one of three ways Jung tells us that events are connected in time. One is causality, and that's the one we're most used to. A particular event causes a particular result. That is an important element in understanding the world, but by no means is causality the only way that things are connected. And once we acquire causality, it feels like it really is something that exists in the world, but actually it is an imposition on the world based on our psyche. It is, babies are not born with causal reasoning, they acquire it generally within the first 18 to 24 months of age. That's important information because it shows that causality is something the human being brings to this concatenation of events that unfold in time. The second way that events are connected is in time or temporally. And, causality, if I knock over a glass and the floor gets wet, that's cause and effect. But if we're sitting here in this class and there's a bus going by outside, those two events are co-occurring in time, but they may not have any fundamental meaning. Synchronicity is the third way events are connected. And when events are connected synchronistically, matter and psyche, or the so-called outer world and the so-called inner world, meet at the point of meaning. So you can see that that's what the tarot cards really are cultivating. It's sort of an evoked synchronicity. And all of these, causality, temporality, or synchronicity, are based on the psyche's interaction with the so-called outer world or outer data sources. So we're going to be looking today at the archetypal realm, or the Major Arcana. And the Major Arcana, as you recall from last week, are composed of 3 cycles of 7 cards, which makes 21, and then the Fool dances all over the place. The 3 cycles of 7 start with a cycle of knowledge. It moves into a cycle of understanding, and then that gets transformed into wisdom. And the Fool is all over the place. The Fool is unnumbered, so it moves throughout the deck. So cards 1 through 7 represent archetypal forces that shape identity. Cards 8 through 14 are archetypal forces for exploring the inner worlds, and cards 15 through 21, archetypal forces that foster deeper consciousness.